Hi there. Okay, so I thought I would show you a technique to calculate perspective lines without having your vanishing points and your horizon line drawn on the page. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's always a horizon line. Perhaps your vanishing point is way off the page. And if you look at this photograph here, okay, so if you follow some of these lines, some of these perspective lines, you can see it goes way off the page, way off the, even off the screen, I think, perhaps. So what I'm going to do is show you a technique. Imagine you had this image in your head and you wanted to draw this, and you started with two of the lines, these two lines here, for example. So you got this line that comes down here, goes off to some vanishing point off the page, and you got this line here, goes off to a vanishing point. Let's just turn down this opacity so we can see what we're doing here. In fact, let's turn it off and we'll bring it back on. Okay, so you got these two lines. Let's have a look at this picture. You want to draw the top of this wall, for example. First thing you do is draw a dot where you want this line to be. It's going to be that high at that point in the perspective sort of window. Next thing to do is draw a vertical line somewhere along your lines, completely vertical, so it crosses both the top and the bottom line. Next thing to do is to draw two diagonal lines, one from this corner down to the dot, and one from this corner up to the dot. So you have something like this and this. Right, from this point on, you just got to replicate that further along your lines, but keeping every single line you've drawn parallel to each other. So, for example, this vertical line will be the same further down, further along the perspective lines. Your diagonal line will also be parallel to that. That is basically a copy of that, just moved along. The key here is to make sure it's a parallel line and it runs through the point where the vertical line crosses the perspective line. And you do the same for the bottom one, like that. Make sure they cross at that point where the vertical and the perspective line meet. Make sure that diagonal line is parallel to that line and crosses that point. Now where they meet, this point here, is where your perspective line goes through, and I've already drawn that. Here's your new line. So that is how you get perspective lines without knowing where the horizon line is. If you took all these lines way off into the distance, you'd see that they will meet in the same place. And you can do that. You draw that dot anywhere down here and do the same calculation. Draw the same lines. You'll get the same result. You'll get another line that goes down here or wherever your dot may be. And that's it. That's a good tip to draw perspective lines. And if you see this now, this line should match up with the top of the wall. Let me just bring it back up a little bit so you can see. Yeah, there you go. I think this picture is actually slightly distorted. I don't think it's slightly shifted that way, but you can see it works. That's it. That's another good tip for you when trying to calculate your perspective. So if you've got any questions about that, just let me know and I'll respond as soon as I can. I'll see you in the next lecture.